That night, Vitalik's dreams were so clear that when he woke up, he thought, "Well, that's it, I drank up. The hallucinations have already begun." His head was pounding so hard that he couldn't get up from the bed. The man rolled onto his side with difficulty and slowly got up. There were pills somewhere. He opened the drawer of the nightstand and fumbled inside. Vitalik dissolved the pill in a glass of water, drank it, and went back to bed. That night he dreamed of his father. He was angry with his son, cursing and reproaching him for what he did to his mother. "You are an egoist and a scoundrel," my father used to say. And Vitalik was standing in front of him, as he had done many years ago as a child, and did not look up. "Your mother spent her entire life raising you. I've been denying myself an extra dress, and you." The dream was so obvious that Vitalik almost physically felt the slap that his father gave him. At this point, his mother should have stood up for her son. She always protected him from everyone, calmed down his father when he was angry, defended him in front of the teachers at school, scolded the neighborhood boys who took the boys' bike. Where is the mother? The father was getting more and more angry. He's about to take off his belt and ask Vitalik questions. "But my mother wasn't in the dream. She never came to save her son." And that realization made me feel cold inside. Fear gripped his entire body, and sweat broke out on his forehead. Vitalik just woke up, covered in a cold sweat. The man has not seen his mother for 5 years. Maybe she's dead, he thought. The thought made my head hurt even more. Vitalik slowly looked around the room. Gradually, he began to recall everything that had happened the day before. Yesterday, bailiffs came to the office with a notice that the firm no longer belongs to Vitalik. The accounts are seized, and he has to leave the apartment within 10 days. "Are you out of your mind?" Vitaly Sergeyevich was enraged. "Get out of here, or I'll call security." The man reached for his phone to dial the number of the security chief, but the uniformed man handed him the order. "What is it? Why are you giving me your papers here?" "Get lost." Reading what was printed on the white sheet, Vitaly was confused. The paper stated that the new owner of the company is Marina Vladimirovna Kravchenko. "Wait," the man said, in a more peaceful tone. "Can I call the owner?" "Well, this Marina Vladimirovna, who is here in the paper. I'll try to find out." "I know her." "Please," the uniformed man said, indifferently. "Just try not to be long, we're on duty." Vitaly frantically dialed Marinka's number, not understanding what had happened and why she was the owner of his company. "This is some kind of misunderstanding," he thought. For a moment, the man thought that he was being played, like in a famous program on TV. "Now the door will open and a film crew will enter. Everyone will shout in unison, 'This is a practical joke.'" A polite voice answered. "The subscriber is temporarily unavailable." "Damn it," Vitaly swore. "You can only take your personal belongings. Everything else should stay in the office." Seeing that attempts to call the new owner did not lead to anything, the bailiff pointed Vitalik to the door. "Please." Still confused, the man headed for the door. As he left, he muttered, "I'll call the lawyers. I'll sort it out. This is some kind of misunderstanding." "That's your right," the uniformed man answered calmly, locking the door behind Vitalik. "Have a nice day." After leaving the office, Vitaly dialed Jora's number. George was a childhood friend. "Jora, we need to meet," the man said, when the voice of a friend was heard on the phone. "I have a problem." "No question, bro," George said. "Where and when?" "Let's go to our waterfront bar. Now, come over as fast as you can." "Agreed, I will." When Jora entered the door of the drinking establishment, Vitalik had almost emptied the bottle of whiskey. "Have a drink." "What is it?" he asked his friend, and without waiting for an answer, he poured the rest of the drink into the glass. "Chief, grab another one and figure out something to eat. You look good, bro." Jora looked critically at his friend. "What's the occasion of the spree?" "You won't believe it. I got kicked out of my own office today. They also said that the accounts were blocked, and I have to get out of the apartment within 10 days. Do you understand? They kicked me out of my own company and won't let me into my apartment again." "I don't understand," Jora replied calmly. He took a sip from his glass and nibbled on a slice of lemon. "You seem fine." "No problem." "I don't understand either," Vitalik stammered. "But the most important thing, my friend, is that you don't know the most important thing. They showed me a paper stating that I am no longer the owner of the company." "Who do you think the new owner is?" Jora looked with interest at his friend, who was already pouring from the bottle brought by the waiter. The man drank whiskey, completely emptying the glass, trying to focus his eyes, looked into the eyes of Jora, And the new owner of the company is Marina Kravchenko. He pronounced these words sarcastically, slowly, deliberately stretching each syllable so that Shora would understand faster. You're Marinka. Shora seemed surprised. How so? Did you transfer the company to her? It's enough that I fully provide for her, with her boutiques, beauty salons, and foreign resorts. I wouldn't have thought of that. Then how did she become the owner of the firm, the money, and your apartment? Shora also drank. I know. Vitalik slammed his fist on the table, which attracted the attention of other bar patrons. The door guard stiffened and stood at attention, ready to throw the drunk customer out of the door if anything happened. Let's ask her. He took out his smartphone and dialed Marina's number, which was listed as favorite in his contacts. But the caller was still unavailable. No answer. You bastard. The man swore. Maybe ASPA? Suggested Shora. Girls usually turn off their phones there. Yes. Damn it. Vitalik again poured the glasses. In the morning, he could barely remember what happened next. Seeing that the man had drunk a lot to avoid unnecessary problems, the security guard asked his friends to leave. Vitalik was outraged. Tried to fight with security. Shora stubbornly dragged him out into the air. A security guard helped him with this. Georgi shoved Vitalik into the taxi and got into the front seat himself. And then Vitalik did not remember anything. He woke up in his own bed with the realization that it no longer belonged to him. The man padded into the kitchen, his bare feet slapping the floor. Hoping there was something to drink in the refrigerator, he opened the door. Damn, Shora, that's what a friend you are. You could have bought me something for a hangover, Vitalik thought, not finding anything that would help him improve his health. With a heavy sigh, he headed for the shower to try to ease his condition and get back to normal. The water was refreshing. At some point, Vitalik's memory told him that the papers provided by the bailiffs did not mention anything about his car. I'll go to Marinka's myself. Let her tell you how she so cleverly took over my company, the man thought, drying himself with a fluffy towel. He hastily drank a cup of coffee, pulled on jeans and a t-shirt, and left the apartment. The car wasn't in the yard. Vitalik remembered that he had left it near the office. When he got to the office center in a taxi, he was glad to see that his Jeep was parked in the parking lot. From the car, the man decided to call the office. I'm listening, Vitaly Sergeyevich. The friendly voice of Lyudmila's secretary answered the phone. Is there anyone in my office? He asked. No. I'm alone in the waiting room. No one came, she replied. When will you be here? Without answering the girl's question, he asked another question. No. I'm telling you. There's no one here. Okay. Get to work. Vitalik paused for a moment. However, listen, close everything and go home. Rest for now, then I'll call you when there's news. The man turned the key in the ignition and drove out of the parking lot. He was determined. Now this thing will explain everything to him. Tell him everything. He trusted her as much as he trusted himself. How she ever managed to pull this off with him? The Jeep flew along the avenue, overtaking cars, trolleybuses, buses, and Vitalik imagined how Marinka would say to him, dear, it was just a joke, and everything will fall into place again. Entering the entrance of the house where his mistress lived, Vitalik pressed the button to call the elevator, but it still did not go. He paused for a moment and decided to take the stairs to the 8th floor. The bell to the girl's apartment rang with a cheerful trill. No one opened it. Vitalik pressed the button again. Finally the door opened. Marina was standing in the doorway. What are you doing here? She asked. But Vitalik pushed her away and went inside. Yesterday I found out that you have squeezed out my company and apartment, and also appropriated my bank accounts. The man went into the living room. Marinka followed him, hastily wrapping her robe around her. Why don't you say anything? Why are you blinking at me? The girl looked at Vitalik in confusion with fear in her eyes. Suddenly, the door to the bedroom opened and Shora came out. Now confusion appeared in Vitaly's eyes. And you? What are you doing here? What is it? He asked his friend, taken aback by his appearance. As you can see, I was asleep, he said. Why here? Vitalik still didn't understand. Georgi went to the bar, took out a bottle of wine and 3 glasses. He slowly uncorked it and poured the red liquid, handing one glass to Marina and taking a sip from the other. Have a drink. He nodded at the glass. I'm driving, Vitalik said. The absurdity of the situation did not allow him to fully understand what was happening, but he was beginning to realize the worst of it. His best friend is sleeping with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend has somehow robbed him of everything he's earned in recent years. Vitalik plopped down on the sofa, folded his arms and prepared to listen to the explanation of his mistress and friend. "I'm asking both of you," he raised his voice, looking from the girl to Georgie. "Don't yell here," Shora calmly told him. "Not at home. However, you don't have a home anymore. The apartment, as well as the firm, belongs to Marino, so it's not in your best interest to download the rights here. If you behave yourself, we'll give you some money for the first time." Can you give me a lift?" Vitalik jumped up from the sofa, grabbed Shora by the neck and started shaking her, but the man pushed him away with such force that he instantly returned to his original position. He put his head in his hands. Everything that was happening seemed like a terrible dream, a nightmare, a delusion. "So you're the one who pulled this off. You left me without anything." Finally, Vitalik realized that everything that was happening was not a joke, not a practical joke. "What do you think?" Shora asked sarcastically. "Marinka wouldn't do that herself. Mishka doesn't have much mana, you know, but she has many other talents." "Yes, Marishka." George put his arm around the girl's waist and hugged her tightly. He looked like a winner next to the drooping, swollen from last night's drinking, humiliated Vitali. "How could you?" "Shora, we've been friends since childhood," Vitalik said, in a low voice. "Friends?" Georgie released Marina and went over to Vitalik, who was sitting on the sofa. He leaned over it, his eyes angry and sharp. "Do friends do that? You always behaved like a king, always took the best for yourself, and I had to be content with what was left. You had the best girls, the best clothes. Your parents even gave you a car when you were a freshman. I've always been your shadow, always came to the rescue when you were whining. Zorik, help me. Just like yesterday, I also came to you as soon as you called. Only this was the last time." "What are you saying?" "Shut up and listen. I will now run the firm. Marinka is just a formal face. Without her, I wouldn't have been able to squeeze the business out of you. You're head over heels in love with her. You fool. However, you always went along with emotions and did not know how to think with your head. You're also too talkative and overconfident. There is no sense of self-preservation in you, Vitalik. And you can't trust anyone these days. Do you hear that? Even the one who spends her nights with you. And you are a fan of telling us about your success. Well, how much do you need for the first time? I'm not greedy. I can throw 1,000 or 2,000 rubles from your former accounts. Fuck you." Vitalik got up from the sofa, glared at his former friend, then turned his gaze to Marinka, betting. As it was a litter, so it remained. "Do you think he needs you? He'll trade you for another girl with longer legs at the first opportunity." "That's enough," Georgie interrupted Vitalik. "Get out of here. Come on, get out of here and don't let us see you again." Shora pushed Vitalik to the exit. Back in the apartment, he took out his suitcase and started packing. The man's soul was filled with black mud, smelly, disgusting, unbearable. Vitalik rolled his suitcase into the hallway, went back to the bedroom, and opened the safe. It was a good thing he was smart enough to keep some cash. He put a few bundles of money in his suitcase, opened the door, and left the apartment. The man had nowhere to go. He spent several hours driving around the city, wondering if he could live somewhere at a recreation center, on the bay. The idea itself wasn't bad, but Vitalik didn't want to be left alone. He needed to talk it out. And in solitude, in nature, only a bottle can become an interlocutor. The man definitely didn't want to drink. Before I knew it, he was out of town. The nightmare came back to me. Why didn't he dream about his mother? She always stood up for Vitalik when his father scolded him. Is she alive? The decision came naturally. He would go to the remote village where he had taken his mother 5 years ago. It's time to apologize for everything. Repent of getting rid of an aging woman in order to live in your own pleasure. Fall on my knees and beg for his forgiveness. If only my mother was still alive. Vitaly's mother, Levtina, was originally from Karelia. Her parents lived in a village on the shore of a lake, near a nature reserve, and worked on a state farm. Unlike other families with 5 or 6 children, Ali's parents did not have many children. After giving birth to a daughter, Alevtina's mother underwent a complex operation and could no longer have children. Grieving, the father, who always wanted to have several sons, resigned himself. That Alka had grown surprisingly accommodating. She helped her father and mother in everything. She carried water, piled firewood, and weeded the garden beds. Gradually, her father even began to take her hunting and fishing with him. My mother tried to teach me how to prepare food for women. On long winter evenings, they spun yarn together, knitted and sewed warm cloth socks, mittens, hats, vests. After graduating from the age of 9, Alka was about to leave for the capital. The village slowly began to die out. Young people left, houses fell into disrepair, left without owners. After settling in the cities, the children took their elderly parents to live with them. Upon learning of her daughter's plans, Aliftin's mother pleaded, "Daughter, how can we be without you? Who will bring us a glass of water in our old age? I'll go to a college or technical school, graduate, get a job, and help you. Don't cry, mother," my father would say. "The girl really doesn't have anything to do here. The other day I heard that the post office is already being closed. We will travel 40 kilometers to get our pension. Let her go, God willing. She make a good job of it, and everything will be fine." Resign. The mother helped pack her daughter's things, and on the appointed day, she and her father took her on a motorcycle with a sidecar to the train station. A month later, we received a telegram. "Mom, Dad, I entered a technical school." Tears welled up in her mother's eyes as her father comforted her. "Our Alka is not a fool. If he learns, he will become a human being. Maybe he'll take us in too." "Where are we going, father?" "To the capital," sobbed my mother. "Where are we going to leave our farm?" Aunt Aliftina is used to life in the capital. After graduating from technical school, she got a job at the factory in the human resources department. I also met my husband there. He was a foreman in the shop. For more than a year, the man courted the girl. He was older by 10 years, so Alia was very shy of this adult man, but he was persistent. And a year and a half later Alia and Sergey got married, having played a modest wedding. And 3 years later, the factory management allocated an apartment to the young family. That's when the young people began to think about having children. But the years flew by, and Alevtina did not get pregnant. The doctor said that she was completely healthy and did not understand the reason for the couple's childlessness. 10 years have passed since Alia left her native village and left her parents. She wrote them letters all the time, and my father and mother answered them. But I couldn't go and visit my family. The capital with its frenzied rhythms of life did not let go. Still, Alia returned to the village. Only it wasn't a happy occasion at all. One day, she received a telegram from her father that her mother had died. After taking time off from work, she and her husband bought train tickets and went to the funeral the same day. Walking through the village streets to her home, Alia was struck by how much everything around her had changed. The windows of the ramshackle houses were boarded up, no flowering plants could be seen in the front gardens, and in the courtyards you could not hear the lowing of cows or the cackling of chickens. The village was dying. A few neighbors, mostly old men and women with black handkerchiefs tied around their heads, were standing at the gate of my father's house. Alia went into the house. On the stools was a coffin containing my mother. The young woman began to cry as she sat down next to him. She stroked her mother's head, her hands, and stared at her dead calm expression. It was as if the mother was fast asleep, only the sleep would never wake her up again. After the wake, when the neighbors left, Ali and Sergey stayed at the table with their father. "That's how my daughter didn't become our mother," the man said softly. "She was ill, that's understandable. It's a pity, I just didn't see my grandchildren." "Dad, we can't get any kids," Levtina complained. She saw her husband's reproachful look and lowered her eyes. "And the doctors say that Ali throws up his hands," the father asked. "They say that we are both healthy," the daughter shrugged. "Apparently, our time has not yet come to become parents." "It's not a matter of time," my father sighed. "Sins do not give." "What sins do we have, Dad?" asked Alia excitedly. "Maybe you do, maybe you don't. It's a sin because it stretches over many generations. Its echoes are not immediately audible, but it would be worth repenting for the sins of our ancestors." "Okay, it's time for bed. I'll go close up the cattle, and you can tack up. We'll talk in the morning." And the next morning, the father woke up the sleeping couple and took his daughter and son-in-law to the forest. They followed a narrow path for a long time, until they came to a waterfall. In a violent stream, water jets fell from a high cliff down, creating a rainbow fountain of spray. In the light of the sun's rays, they played with different colors, scattering in a fine drizzle in all directions. In the bowl at the foot of the waterfall, the water calmed down, allowing you to see the reflection of the face, slightly twitching with the movement of the air. "Take off your clothes," my father ordered. take 3 dips in the water and make the sign of the cross. And I'm not baptized. Sergei tried to object to his father-in-law. The whole ritual seemed like complete nonsense to him. Then just say it 3 times. God forgive me, the man said firmly, smoothing his gray beard. And Voss will hear you, non-Christian. Ali and Sergei went down to the waterfall bowl and did everything their father had told them to do. They walked home in silence, each thinking about something different. At dinner, my father said, "Old people used to say that if a family member dies and a child is born in the same year, then the Lord has forgiven all the sins of the deceased. God is merciful, you forgive our mother, and the child will give you a gift." Sergei looked at his father-in-law in surprise, and Alevtina just said, "God forbid, Dad, God forbid." A month later, the woman found out that she was pregnant, and in May, she and her husband had a wonderful beau, Vitalik. The couple was happy and doted on the baby. The joy of the birth of a son was overshadowed by the death of Levtina's father, the news of which came from neighbors after the funeral of the man. For 10 years of childless life, they managed to save money, so immediately after the birth of their son, Ali and Sergei bought a cooperative 2-bedroom apartment in a new building, in which Vitalik was allocated a separate room. Sergei quickly sobered up from the euphoria that he had initially fallen into when he became a father. He tried to teach his son to work, responsibility, and the ability to stand up for himself. Well, Levtina, like a cat, continued to run around with him. "You are too strict with your son, Seryozha," she told her husband, who forced his 3-year-old son to take out the trash can. "He's still very young. It's nothing to worry about. The cup can lift, the bucket will carry away." On weekends, the father dragged his son to the park for a jog, forced him to do push-ups and pull-ups on the horizontal bar, and at the age of 5, I gave it to the boxing section. However, after the first bruise received by her son in training, the mother flatly refused to take the child to boxing. "Do you want to make an only son for disabled people?" She objected to her husband's arguments that the boy should grow up to be a man. Sergei was madly in love with his wife. It was hard for him to argue with her. The man tried to avoid the slightest reason for a quarrel. Therefore, in most cases, Ali managed to win the right to raise her son as she wanted. Vitalik did not know any refusal. The best house, bicycles, and beautiful items bought in branded stores. All this was given to him, as a matter of course. However, Vitalik was not a stupid boy. At school, he studied for a solid B. The teachers praised the smart student, but discipline was lame. With a friend Jorka, who lived in the next entrance, they constantly came up with new pranks. Once they bought a rat from a pet store and put it in the drawer of a teacher's desk. Once I opened it to take out my notebooks and almost fainted. My mother was summoned to the principal's office. Blushing, she apologized for her son. She promised that she would talk to him very seriously at home. The next day, Vitalik and Jorka broke a window in the staff room by throwing a basketball through it. Then Alevtina had to tell her husband everything. The director gave strict orders to immediately insert new glass in the window frame, and the woman herself couldn't do it. As a punishment, Vitalik was forbidden to go outside for a whole week. During spring break, he would sit at home and watch the boys playing in the yard. And yet, Levtina's son's childhood was no worse than that of other children. In the 9th grade, Vitalik was given a moped for his birthday, and at the end of the first year of the institute, his father bought him a brand new 9. The parents loved their son wholeheartedly, and no matter how hard they tried to raise him in strictness, they paid for his growing requests. After graduating from the economics department of the institute, the guy got a job in a large trading firm. "I'm not going to spend my whole life working for my uncle," he told his parents. "I'll get some experience, find out how things really work there, and open my own company." My father had already retired, but continued to work. Having passed a long professional path from a simple worker to a shop master, and then a production manager, he believed that trade was not a serious matter. The man repeatedly persuaded his son to go to work at the plant, in the plant economic department, but he just waved it off. "Here's another thing, your factory is the last century," Vitalik used to say. "The future belongs to business." My father just shook his head. He believed that there were only bandits in business, and an honest person should work for the benefit of his native country. That's how he lived. Until the last day every morning, going to the factory checkpoint. Vitalik's father passed away without causing anyone long suffering and torment. One day he fell asleep and didn't wake up. He died quietly in his sleep. That year Vitalik turned 30 years old. After the funeral of his father, Vitalik felt like the main person in the family. He felt that now it was his time to make a decision. He left the firm and spent days sitting in his room at his computer. Once, he said to his mother, "I know you and your father had savings. I've decided to start my own company and I want to ask you for money. How much do you need?" Levtina asked. "The more the better. We need to rent an office, buy office equipment, and then buy the first batch of goods." "Yes, of course, my son," agreed his mother, who was not used to refusing Vitalik. A year later, Vitaly was already the director of a trading firm that did not bring super profits, but worked quite successfully. There were several dozen employees in the state, to whom Alevtina's son paid their salaries on time, and even encouraged the particularly enterprising ones with bonuses and trips to seaside resorts. He was in no hurry to return the money his mother had given him to start a business. Yes, Alevtina didn't ask for it. She was glad that her son was doing what he liked and that he was doing it. Time passed, and one day, returning home, Vitalik said to his mother, "I'll bring a girl to visit us today. Prepare something for dinner." Alevtina began to smile. She had long expected her son to decide to marry, but there was no one in their house except his friend Jora, with whom they had been inseparable since childhood. And from there, suddenly Vitalik will bring the girl. Maybe they'll even say they're getting married, and Levtina will definitely bless the young people so that everything in their life is go. She really wanted to babysit her grandchildren. "My son is already in his 30s, and he doesn't even think about children." Vitalik met Marina at the club. A spectacular girl in a short tight dress immediately attracted the attention of the guy. Bright, with a challenging look, she was one of those people who say legs from the ears or unreal beauty. She was sitting at the bar, slowly sipping a cocktail. Vitalik asked and sat down next to him. The girl gave him an appraising look. Apparently, she liked the young man. Dressed decently, looks attractive, and when he took his wallet out of his pocket, he took out a large bill and handed it to the bartender, saying, "I'll have a whiskey, and the girl will have the same as she drinks." The beauty broke into a snow-white smile. "Vitalik," the man said. "Marina," the girl said, drawing out her name slightly. "Are you here alone? And for what purpose are you interested?" The girl was clearly flirting with a new acquaintance. With the far-reaching one, Vitalik said, and put his hand on Marina's waist. "Be careful," she warned. "I might hurt you." "Really? Such a sweet, charming girl and offend a poor lonely guy. I won't believe it for the life of me." Vitalik tried to laugh it off. "For your introduction." He drank, pushed the glass away from him, and said to the bartender, "Say that again, my friend." Marina slowly sipped her cocktail, looking at the man. "Are you alone?" the girl asked. "Not really. We agreed to meet a friend here. Have a little fun, otherwise it's all work and work," Vitalik replied, downing another shot of whiskey. "Poor little hard worker." Then, Marina made a jokingly pitiful expression on her face. "And where does poor Vitalik work that he gets so tired?" "And poor Vitalik works for his own firm." "Wait. What is this poor Vitalik?" "Vitalik is not poor at all, but very rich." The man's tongue began to slur slightly. "And here is my friend Jora." George came up to the counter. Vitalik introduced Jora to a new girlfriend, and the company moved to the hall, where they took an empty table. Vitalik found himself thinking that he liked Marina more and more, and this sympathy grew in proportion to the amount drunk. The club was closing when the group spilled out onto the street. Marina put her arms around Vitaly's neck and whispered, "Do you want to continue the evening?" "I really want to," Vitalik muttered. "Then come to my place. Do you have a drink?" "What is it?" he asked, hugging Marina to him by her small waist. "There is." Vitalik spent Marina's night, and the next morning, barely lifting his head from the pillow, decided to call Jora. "I had to get home somehow, and Jorka didn't drink so much yesterday. Maybe he'll pick him up in a brotherly way." The phone rang for a long time. No one answered. "Are you up yet, honey?" Marina stretched sweetly in bed. She reached over to the nightstand, where a bottle of champagne had been opened, poured it into a glass, drank it, and handed it to Vitalik. "Want some? Your head will stop hurting." "Isn't it stronger?" the man asked. "Nah." Marina shook her head, tossing her hair on the pillow. "Come on. There's nothing to take home anyway," Vitalik agreed. "And by taxi? Or do you just not want to leave?" Marina beckoned him with her finger. Vitalik fell into the arms of the beauty. They finally broke away from each other and lay in silence, breathing heavily. Vitalik broke the silence first. I feel like eating something. Why don't you make me something to eat? No. 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 No cooking. I hate the stove and everything that goes with it. The girl flatly refused. Let's go out and have lunch. Where to? To a restaurant, for example. Come on. Vitalik decided that this wonderful night must have a beautiful ending. I'll just make one call. Okay. I'll take a shower. Marina wrapped the sheet around her and walked down the hall. Alevtina was in a hurry from work. She still had to stop by the store to buy cheese and sausage. Today, my son will bring his girlfriend to meet her. The thought pleased her. It's probably a girl from his job. Most likely. She is smart, kind and very beautiful. It can't be any other way. Her beau wouldn't date just anyone. After changing into her house clothes, the woman put on an apron and began to prepare dinner. She put the delicious chicken, which had been carefully marinated since morning, in the oven and began to eat the appetizers. In the living room, she laid a beautiful tablecloth on the table, arranged dishes and utensils. Alevtina's apartment was almost ready when the doorbell rang. She hurried into the hall. Mom, we're here. Vitalik greeted his mother happily, kissing her on the cheek. Here, meet Marina. Very nice, the woman replied with a smile, looking at the girl. She did not look at all like the image of the future daughter-in-law that Alevtina had drawn in her imagination. Bright, tall, in a short skirt. And I'm Alevtina Viktorovna. The girl smiled back in silence. She studied the spacious hallway with interest. What are we standing for? Come to the hall. Alevtina invited her son and his girlfriend. I'll be right there. The woman retreated to the kitchen, and Marina continued to turn her head from side to side. You have a nice apartment. Yes. My father died. My mother and I were left alone, Vitalik replied, uncorking a bottle of champagne. Why don't you get married? The girl asked. It didn't even occur to me. Maybe I haven't met the one person I'd like to spend my life with yet, the man replied. Are you sure? Marina laughed, and Vitalik looked at her, not understanding whether she was joking or seriously considering him a sissy. Come on. I have a great mom. The girl put her arms around Vitalik's neck and kissed him. Alevtina entered the room. When she saw the two young men, she was slightly taken aback. Well, everything is ready. You can sit down at the table. The woman was holding a platter of fried chicken. How delicious it smells, mummy. Vitalik sniffed. I love it when you bake chicken according to your signature recipe. Thank you, son, Alevtina said. Wanting to lighten the slightly awkward atmosphere at the table, she turned to Marina. And you, Marinoshko, what do you like to cook? Share the recipe. Marina looked at the woman in disbelief, then at Vitalik. I don't like to cook anything, she said. I prefer to eat in restaurants, or at least order ready-made food at home. It was Alevtina Viktorovna's turn to be surprised. How so? And how will you feed your husband and children? What is it? She asked. After all, everyone knows that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. This wisdom works, believe me. So you married your dad Vitalik because of your skill in roasting chicken? Marina asked unabashedly, reaching for her salad. Alevtina stopped chewing for a moment. This question struck her as blatant rudeness and tactlessness. The smile slowly faded from the woman's face. She stared at Marina, who was helping herself to a salad, not noticing that she had said something wrong. Sensing the awkwardness of the situation, Vitalik tried to hush it up. Mummy, Marina wanted to say that you are a very good cook, and Dad just couldn't help but fall in love with such a good hostess. He looked at Marina. Taz boasted and nodded her head. Yes, that's what I was going to say, she said, still chewing. The dinner conversation didn't go well. After tea and pie, Vitalik and Marina got ready to go. I'll see Marina out and come back. He kissed his mother on the cheek as she continued to clear the dishes from the table. She did not say goodbye to the guest, showing her dissatisfaction with the choice of her son. When her son returned home, Alevtina was about to go to bed. She took a sedative. The woman could not recover from Vitalik's girlfriend. She thought she was rude, and defiant. This is not how Alevtina imagined her future daughter-in-law. Mom, are you still awake? Vitalik asked, looking into his mother's bedroom. You'll sleep here, son, she sighed. Your friend made my blood pressure jump, so I had to take medication. Oh, Mom, why are you making this so difficult? The man was indignant. Marina is a normal modern girl, but if she doesn't want to stand at the stove, don't let her. Now you can really order ready-made food and take the laundry to the laundry room. Cleaning in the house can also be done by specially trained people. Why bother? It's not normal. What is abnormal? That a woman wants to be beautiful and well-groomed and not tortured by constant cooking, washing and cleaning. Do you think I'm tortured? I've taken care of your father all these years. His shirts were always clean and ironed, and he was always well fed. And what delicious dumplings we used to make together. Don't you remember? And this one is yours. Tati has no idea how normal people make dumplings, pies, or where clean underwear comes from in the closet. Mom, this is my choice and my life. Vitalik tried to argue with his mother. She doesn't want anything but money from you. You look at her. She's dressed like. The woman almost cursed it, even though she wasn't in the habit of doing so. God forgive me. Your father should have seen this painted, bodily dressed and ill-mannered girl. Vitalik rolled his eyes at the ceiling. I'm going to bed and get up early tomorrow morning. He left his mother's bedroom, closing the door behind him. The woman sat at the dressing table for a while longer, looking at her face in the mirror. After the death of her husband, she noticeably lost. His face showed signs of fatigue. Can I retire? Thought Levtina. Not for the first time. She thought it was time to stop working. My health was failing more and more often, and my eyesight was getting worse. Even, her aunt asked her to bring a clean hand towel. The woman went into the room, and he quickly took a bottle from his pocket and dripped it into his mother's cup. It was a sleeping pill. Pour her some tea and she fall asleep for a few hours. Marina had admonished her lover the day before. Here, I brought it. Here you go. My mother handed Vitalik a towel. Thank you, Mom, he said. Now you can safely drink tea. You drink too. While talking, the woman drank the entire cup and suddenly felt weak. She leaned against the wall. I don't feel well, Vitalik, she said. But the man had already picked up his mother and carried her into the room. He put her down on the couch and hurried to the hall to open the front door. Fell asleep? Did everything work out? Marina asked as she entered the apartment. Yes, he seems to be asleep. Hurry up, we need to make it before she wakes up. Vitalik took his mother in his arms, and Marina grabbed a blanket and pillow from the sofa. They left the apartment and went down to the courtyard. The man put his mother in the back seat, propped a pillow under her head, and covered her with a blanket. Opening the trunk, he threw in warm clothes Levtins collected by Marina. There were several grocery bags nearby. Slamming the doors, Vitalik and Marina set off. When Vitalik reached the suburban highway, he picked up speed. He drove as fast as he could, afraid that his mother would wake up and his plan with Marina would fail. It took them 5 hours to reach the remote village where Levtina was born and raised. They found her parents' house. There was almost no snow in the city, but here it was still knee-deep. Making his way to the gate, Vitalik opened it with difficulty, and then opened the door to the house. He went back to the car, carried his mother into the hut in his arms, and laid her on the bed. Where to put the food? Marina asked. She was standing in the doorway, holding the bags. Over there on the table, Vitalik pointed out. He covered his mother with a blanket and put a coat on top to keep her warm. Let's go, Marina. They closed the door and drove away, flashing their headlights at the abandoned houses with boarded-up shutters. When Alevtina woke up, she felt terribly cold. She opened her eyes with difficulty, her head aching violently. She tried to get up, but fell back on the bed, feeling completely exhausted. Where am I? The woman thought. It was surrounded by wooden walls and boarded-up windows that let in the faint light of day. It took some time for Alevtina to realize that she was in her parents' house. But how she got here, the woman did not understand. The last thing she remembered was Vitalik giving her tea. And then darkness. Landlords, is anyone there? A man's voice said. There was a pounding on the door. Alevtina tried to say something, but her tongue seemed to stick to the roof of her mouth. Hey! They shouted again from outside. I'm here, she said in a hoarse whisper. My throat hurt terribly. The door opened. A man with a gray beard, wearing a warm jacket and a winter hat, appeared in the doorway. When he saw the woman lying on the bed under some things, he rushed to her. Who are you? What's the matter with you? He asked Alevtina, patting her on the cheeks. Are you all right? It's cold, she whispered. Now. Wait, I'll help you. The man grabbed a blanket, wrapped it around Alevtina, took off his jacket and covered it, tucking it under her side. How did you get here? No one's been here for 100 years. She stared at him, unable to speak. The man ran out of the house in only a sweater, returned a minute later with an armful of wood. Now, we will light the stove. It will be warm. You just lie down for now. Wait a bit. A few minutes later, the stoves crackled with wood. Alevtina could see the glow of a scarlet flame coming through the crack. The door was completely askew and did not cover the oven tightly. I see you've decided to settle down here thoroughly, and you've brought in a lot of food. Alevtina turned her head, saw the man examining the contents of the bags found on the table. She warmed up a little and began to recover. The woman understood that Vitalik had brought her here to leave her. After all, she was against his wedding, and even demanded to pay the money. The stranger set down a cloth backpack. I'll pour you some hot tea. You'll warm up quickly, he said, and took out a thermos flask from his backpack. He unscrewed the lid of the glass and poured a hot, aromatic drink into it. Sitting down next to Alevtina on the bed, he helped her up. Here you go. Very good. Thank you. After taking a few sips, the woman thanked him. What is it? I cook it myself. There are rose hips, hawthorn, and some other herbs, the man replied. Are you feeling better? I'm almost completely warmed up. And I look, traces of a car, footprints lead from it to the house, the stranger began to tell. In this house for 100 years, in the afternoon there was no one, and here on those hello guests came. So I decided, I'll get off and check who's here. And here you are. And who are you? Asked Alevtina. After drinking the hot tea, she felt refreshed. The headache was completely gone. Oh, I'm sorry, you old fool, the man began to apologize. I completely forgot to introduce myself. I'm Victor, the local forester. Victor, how strange, Levtina said thoughtfully. Why strange? The man did not understand. Levtina sat up in bed. She could feel the warmth of the house. The crackling of the logs in the stove warmed not only the woman's body, but also her soul. She looked around the room. The faded wallpaper had almost completely fallen off the walls, the ceiling was damp, and old curtains hung from the windows. Their mother sewed them when Alia was just a girl. This is my home. You see, I grew up here, lived with my parents, then went to the city to study, and stayed there. And my father's name was Victor. He was a forester in those days. Everyone in the neighborhood respected him, and he was a very good man. Victor listened in surprise for a moment, then laughed in a deep voice. Ha ha, so I'm a forest ranger too, Victor, just like your father. What a coincidence. I would never have thought. I was told, of course, that a very good man used to work here as a forester. But I didn't know that we were namesakes. Victor laughed again. How did you end up here? Where are your relatives, friends, and the car you arrived in? I saw the tracks, most likely a jeep or an SUV of some kind. I don't know, Alevtina said sadly. I don't seem to have any relatives or friends anymore. Noticing how sad his new acquaintance looked, the forester took her hand. And you are not in a hurry to draw conclusions. Everything in life happens. He was tired, put his hands on his hips, and spoke in a cheerful voice. And since you've decided to stay here, we'll have to clean up the house. Do you mind if I help you? No, of course not, Levtina said, smiling. Who will refuse to help if they find themselves in such circumstances? Thank you. Victor and Levtina spent the whole day cleaning up the house. First of all, the man tore off the boards that were boarded up the windows, corrected the leaning door. Alevtina started cleaning the floors and windows. After removing the old curtains, she filled a basin with water and prepared to do the laundry. But Victor stopped her. It's not right to hang such old things in a house, Alevtina. So what am I going to do without curtains? And we'll put up new ones, Victor said confidently. Where are we going to get them? The woman asked. If we look hard, we'll find it, the woodsman said cryptically. Alevtina, not understanding, shrugged her shoulders. It was late afternoon. Alevtina had already cooked the potatoes, sliced the sausage, and opened a can of stew. Your son turned out to be a caring one, and he didn't dare leave his mother in the forest without food, Victor said sarcastically. But I immediately regretted what I said. Alevtina was sad again, lost in thought. Yes, that's how it turns out. You bring up your only son. You don't regret anything for him. And he takes you to the forest, to the cold hot. Don't worry so much, Alevtina. People live everywhere. And here you belong. Here is your homeland. And the Karelian forest has some kind of ancestral memory, protects those who were born and raised under its pines. Everything will be fine. I know. The man smiled. Alevtina wondered what had brought him here. He's definitely not a local. Alevtina and Victor became friends. The forester visited the woman every day, helped with the housework. Victor repaired the furniture that still remembered little Alia, brought water, helped with the wood. Aunt Alevtina fed him a delicious lunch. I saw lights on in some of the houses. People live. Apparently, they are leaving. What is it? She asked Victor once. I think there are 10 houses left of the entire village, he said. Mostly those who are no longer needed by children. Yes, lonely old people. What do they do here? Who keeps the cattle, the garden? Again, feeds, goes to the forest. Berries and mushrooms are harvested. Fish are caught in the lake, then dry and smoked. And there's nothing else to do here. He doesn't always show TV sets. Are there televisions in the houses? Alevtina perked up. She was bored by herself. She also missed the TV shows that she liked to watch in the city in the evenings. Yes, but the connection sometimes disappears, especially in winter. And Alevtina suddenly got up from the table and went to the closet. There were things that Vitalik had hastily put in bags. She found among these things her card, on which the woman was supposed to receive a payment from work and a pension. Here, she handed the card to the ranger. What is it? The man didn't understand. This is my map. I'm begging you. Let's go to the store and buy me a TV. Please, she said, folding her hands in front of her chest. Victor thought about it. Nearest store. About 80 kilometers away. You'll have to spend the whole day going back and forth. But Alevtina was looking at him with such pleading eyes that he couldn't refuse her. Okay. We'll go in my car tomorrow, the man agreed. Alevtina Viktorovna smiled happily. She liked this strong man with such a native name more and more. He reminded her very much of her father. 2 months passed, and summer came. One warm evening Victor and Alevtina were having tea in the courtyard. The forester made a small table, and Alevtina tied a tablecloth on it. The trees rustled softly around them, enjoying the pleasant company and tranquility. The woman suddenly thought that nothing happens just like that. She probably should have come back here long ago. She was surprised at herself. She liked to prepare the garden for planting, liked to equip the house, create comfort. Ayla, said Victor to her, you and I are both middle-aged. We live here as hermits, and we don't seem to get bored. But where is there to be bored? I'll plant a vegetable garden soon. Then I'll take care of it. Alevtina answered him. Yes, gardening, of course, is an occupation, but I'm talking about something else. In general, Alevtina. Let's live together. The woman looked at Victor in surprise, and in his kind eyes there was so much hope, warmth of soul, and life experience. So we almost never part anyway, Vidya. Well, I mean, let's live together, run the house, and watch your TV shows in the evenings. He looked so pathetic in his uncertainty that Alevtina couldn't stand it and held out her hand to him. Come on, Victor, it's really more fun together. Not hiding his joy, the man hugged Alevtina, hugged her tightly and stroked her gray hair. One day, after returning from the forest, Victor brought a small lynx into the house. The animal was wounded, looked weak, almost lifeless. What's the matter with him? Vidya, Alevtina asked, setting aside the wash basin. Caught in a trap, silly. Apparently the poachers are back in the habit. I had to save a kitten. It's a nice kitten, but it's bigger than a healthy cat. Bring a first aid kit, please, Victor said. He treated the wound on the lynx's leg, applied a bandage with oil and bandaged it. He'll stay with us for a while, and then we'll see. An old doghouse was re-equipped for the lynx. I had to update the boards, make an aviary out of metal mesh. The lynx was named Mukhtar, the name of the former owner of the booth. True. He was a dog, not a wild cat. The pet was extremely affectionate, constantly licking Alevtina's hand when she stroked it and made bandages. A few days later, Victor returned with a large box. There were about a dozen chickens in it. Here are the laying hens, he said proudly, showing Alevtina the chicks crouching at the bottom of the cardboard box. Now we'll always have fresh eggs. For God's sake, Vitya, where are we going to keep them? Alevtina threw up her hands. It's not a problem. Tomorrow morning I'll start building a chicken coop, and then I'll build a stable, and we'll have a cow, goats, geese, and piglets. We will have our own farm. Alevtina just shook her head, smiling and rejoicing in the forester's economy. It was not a problem for him to arrange the forest for the construction of buildings. Therefore, Victor decided not to be petty, and in just a month, not only a cowshed, a chicken coop, a pen for geese and ducks, as well as a rabbit house, but also a new bathhouse grew in the courtyard of the house. There was no limit to the joy of lifting when smoke first came out of the chimney. Over time, we will also update the house. As long as we have the strength, I will do everything, Victor promised. Once a month, Alevtina and Victor went to the city to withdraw money from Ollie's cart and receive Victor's salary. At the same time, they went to the market, handed over eggs, milk, poultry meat to merchants. The price was not high, but the owners themselves did not want to trade. I had to go back and do the housework. After making the necessary purchases, they drove home. So, returning home one day, they noticed a car on the forest road. It's not ours, some tourists. Probably, Victor suggested, and pulled up next to an unfamiliar car. Hello, do you need any help? A man in his 40s approached Victor. Here the car broke down. No matter how hard I try, it won't start and that's it. Let me see, the forester suggested. He looked under the hood of a foreign car, touched something, moved it. The case is rubbish. Repairs are required. Where is there to be repaired? The man asked. I looked it up on Yandex Navigator, but there are no localities nearby. Two boys of 8 or 10 jumped out of the car of an unknown man. A woman followed them. Victor looked at the family and spoke decisively. Let's go to our place. You'll spend the night, and in the morning, I'll drag you to the service. Do you have a cable? The men hooked the foreign car with a cable, and everyone took their seats. Victor dragged the broken car back to the village. Here we are. Alia, invite your guests, he said. Levtina took the woman and her children into the house. It turned out that they had come from far away. We have long wanted to see Karelian sights, but the car failed. My name is Natasha, the woman said, and these are our sons, Pashka and Kalka. The boys crouched down near the lynx enclosure, looking at it in surprise. In fact, everything in the house and yard seemed outlandish. In the evening, everyone gathered at a table outside. Victor and Natasha's husband Igor fried meat on the grill, and the women prepared vegetables and herbs. For this occasion, Victor took out a bottle of moonshine from somewhere. Thank you for getting to know me, for meeting me, for getting your car repaired quickly, he said, pouring glasses. Everyone present supported him. It was a wonderful evening. Natasha put the children to bed, and after running around, they barely made it to bed. The host and guests all sat talking and drinking fragrant tea with forest herbs. And the next day, Igor's car was driven to the service. It turned out that it would be ready only the next day, and the men went back to Victor and Alevtina's house. Guests noticeably enlivened and the life of the owners. All day long the boys were busy with the animals, feeding the rabbits carrots, carrying hay for the cow and collecting eggs in the chicken coop. And then we drank fresh milk. Igor and Victor chopped wood and put it in a neat wood pile, while the women prepared the food. In the evening, everyone went to the lake, swam and rowed a boat, and on their return they were already waiting for a real Russian bath. It was a great weekend. Thank you. The guests thanked the hospitable hosts. It was a great weekend. We could not even imagine that such a wonderful holiday is here. And we really liked it. The boys shouted in unison. Come visit us again, Victor said, shaking Igor's hand in parting. Do not even doubt, we will come and bring our friends with us, the man promised. As Victor watched the car with his new friends drive away down the street, he said to Alevtina, It seems to me, Alechka, it's time to start building guest houses. All summer long Alevtina was busy with garden beds, harvesting and making preparations for the winter. Victor seriously began to build an extension to the house. He liked to receive guests, and in his heart he hoped that Igor would keep his promises and come to visit them on vacation. A man and a woman went together to the forest for berries and mushrooms, made jam and made pickles. And in the long winter, Alevtina Viktorovna spun yarn from rabbit wool, knitted warm socks, mittens and other things. So winter passed, and then spring. The elderly couple's household gradually expanded, and there was more trouble. One evening they were just finishing up the potato patch when several cars pulled up one after the other in front of the house. Who is it, Vitya? Levtina was perplexed. Let's see. Victor went to the gate. Igor was walking towards the man. Well, hello, master, he shouted when he saw Victor. How do you do? Are you healthy? Healthy. Thank God. Ayla, look who's here. The two men embraced, happy to see each other again. Can I borrow it? I want to stay for a week. Go fishing. Take a walk in the woods. Just relax. Why do you ask? We only welcome such guests. Victor smiled, patting Igor on the shoulder. Only? Vitya, I'm not alone. Will you accept? How many of you are there? The forester asked. Is this all about us? Yad. Then go ahead, and we'll figure it out. People began to pour out of the cars. Men, women, and children. Alevtina only had time to hoot, as she was surrounded by young women, shaking hands and calling their names, asking where to take things and foo. In the house? Girls, in the house, Alevtina answered, confused. Gradually, everything calmed down. There was no fuss. The women started cooking, and the men set up several tents in the courtyard. What clever girls they are, thought Levtina. Children were given beds in the house, and adults were placed in the yard. The noise, the fun, the joy of children's voices settled in Levtina and Victor's house, which had been quiet until that day. For a whole week, the children enjoyed feeding the animals, going to the lake with their parents, and playing outside the gate. Women helped Alevtina. Although she refused to help, still people came to rest. And the men had a whole day's work to do, and everything was a joy to them. Variety. Victor even took the guests hunting and fishing as they liked. At parting, Alevtina collected gifts for the guests. Rabbit wool socks and mittens, wild berry jam, pickled and salted mushrooms, dry and smoked fish caught by the guests themselves. Lon Huddan could not leave the owners with their guests. We've grown so close this week. And when the townspeople left, Alevtina found money in the room under the tablecloth and a postcard with good wishes and hope for a new meeting. So we have earned the first money on our farm? Victor smiled happily. He sensed that there would soon be new guests in this house. And I didn't lose. A week later, another group of 3 families arrived. We are from Igor. He said that you have a great holiday here. A man named Vladimir started the conversation. The rest is good. Come into the yard, Victor invited. The earth is full of rumors, and good is drawn to good. A few years passed quickly. Now, from May to September, tourists from different cities constantly came to visit Alevtina and Victor, some for a day or two, and some for a week. Victor managed to build several summer houses, bought 2 boats and put up a smokehouse. People from megacities and bustling cities liked to relax surrounded by wild, untouched nature. The hosts did not ask for a fee for accommodation and did not set any tariffs, because the guests helped them in many ways. But tourists always left money, which Victor invested in new buildings, buying fodder for cattle and other necessary things. That day they were waiting for the next guests. Look, someone's coming, shouted Victor to the woman. A black jeep stopped at the gate. A man got out. He stared in wonder at the solid house with its beautifully carved paneling, at the strange man, at the lynx in the paddock. No, my son is here, Alevtina said softly, shading her eyes from the sun. She took a few steps forward, smiled and tilted her head. Hello, son. The sight of a healthy, prettier, cheerful mother made Vitalik's legs give way. He hugged his mother and sobbed. Stroking her son's head, Alevtina said, in a low voice, the words that Victor had once said to her. This is our homeland, son. Karelian forest. It has some kind of ancestral memory. It protects those who were born and raised under its pines.